Well, after some dark revelations came out, the show goes into full-blown chaos in one of its most thrilling and best episodes yet. Hey guys, it's Simon for Shadowhunters, Season 2, Episode 8, Love is a Devil, and I was definitely really looking forward to this episode. As I said, last week's episode really was when they started to pick the pace up. I felt like definitely the story was starting to take front and center again. Not that I don't think it's been good. I do think that we've had quite a few great character moments in, some of the other episodes, but this, it's down to the wire here. We got 2 episodes left, and, for this half season at least, and I really did love what transpired in last week's episode. And this episode was incredible. I mean, there were so many revelations that came out in this episode. So much happened, and just so much guilt that are, corrupting the lives of everyone finally came out here. And an incredible ending as well. But let's just get into this episode which I really do want to get into, because a lot definitely did happen. And this for me was definitely up there with Jocelyn's death. I thought this was an incredible episode overall, but we start off, and we see that even though we start off with where Izzy once again, her condition continues to just deteriorate as badly as possible, and even though she has other things to focus on, like her brother's evolving relation with Magnus, her mother being back in town, her brother's ruined ceremony, she can't stay away from vampire venom. Early on, she's surrounded by vampires. She went to the previous episode seeking venom, but before she can get into much trouble, Rafael swoops in and saves her, and she faints in his arms, presumably from withdrawal, because she constantly needs this Yin Fen, and she wakes up, she begs Rafael for some of his venom. He's initially reluctant, because he doesn't really know if this is a good idea, but he agrees to help her only once. He bites her wrist, but later on in the episode, she's walking alone down the streets of New York, and he shows up again asking why she called for him, and as it turns out, she can't just quit her addiction. Like, she needs it. She can't just, stop. She needs to continue to do it, and she asks for him to help her again, and at first he says no, and as it turns out, he has a little experience with addiction. When he first turned, he couldn't get enough of human blood, we find out, and it was Magnus who actually helped him through this, and this makes sense. Magnus and Rafael, as long as you know them in the show, they've been very tight, and this makes sense why. Magnus probably helped Rafael just, shape him into being a better vampire than he was, and he wants Izzy to break free and get clean too, but she cuts herself in front of him, and possibly because he explained to her that her blood is even more potent than a human's, Rafael can't help himself. He bites her again, and it looks like they're both in trouble now, because they're both going to be highly addicted to what's going on, so this isn't going to end well for either of them, and I thought that was definitely interesting to see. But Clary and Jason decided to tell Luke about their encounter with the angel and the vision that he showed them, because we know that definitely happened, something happened there, and it was one that seemed to show a demon destroying the soul sword, which I'm guessing that demon is going to be Valentine, like that's what that's supposed to be, but in itself along with it, but Luke isn't so sure of what exactly they saw, and he's upset that Valentine still has a sister. His focus turns to figuring out where she and Valentine are, and we don't see him again in the episode, which was kind of weird, but I'm sure we're going to see him a lot next week with him finding his sister and, finding Cleophus and things like that. I'm sure that definitely is going to take place, later in the next episode, but it was cool to see Luke. I definitely love this revelation came out, but this is only one of many revelations that, like I said, really do drive this episode forward. So, not long after, Izzy and Alec then watch an image that seems to show the angel disappearing into the sky, and as we saw, Izzy's very reluctant to believe that's what's happened, because apparently no one's seen an angel in person for hundreds of years, which is very interesting to think about. We know that Clary and Jace obviously just saw this angel, so what does that really mean? Why is this, why is the first time in 100 years? What is this angel really trying to tell them? That's stuff that right now we're very unsure about, and I definitely did like the way that was done. We don't know what's going on here. It keeps us watching. It gives us a reason to want to watch, and Marayse then arrives at the Institute early in the episode with Izzy and Alec's little brother Max in tow, and they're upset with her for the way she's acted towards Jace, but she quickly directs them to another topic, that of Max's rune ceremony. Apparently the boy passed his final trial to get his first rune and truly trained to be a Shadowhunter like the rest of his family, but Marayse won't go into details, but she tells them that their father cannot attend the ceremony as the eldest male beside him. Alec is to plan to the celebration beforehand, so Izzy and Marayse then go off to argue or something, something, and Max reveals to his brother that their parents have been fighting a lot, and he says it's actually because of Alec's boyfriend, Magnus. That's what he thinks it is, and Alec gets an idea that he goes to Magnus and asks him whether they can host a party at his place, and Magnus usually is a big fan of throwing parties. We know that this is something that Magnus does a lot of, and he's very reluctant to do this one because he knows that Alec's mother feels about him and their relationship, but that's precisely what Alex wants him to do. He wants to show his mother that they aren't going away anytime soon, and she has to get used to their couple status, that this is just something that they are. She can't change it as much as she wants to. This is who they are. They are a couple, and I like that Alec wants to show her that as much as possible, so he convinces Magnus to do it, and that's exactly what ends up happening here. But then we get to one of the more shocking revelations here, because I definitely knew this was going to come out at some point. Not in this episode, though. I was very surprised the way it's turned out, because apparently, going off Maya's advice, Simon asks Clary to meet him somewhere, and we see him nervously psyching himself up before she arrives, and he's very reluctant about telling her, because, this is something that Maya told him to do, and he actually does do it. He tells her that they've been friends for a long time, he's afraid to screw things up, and at first she interprets this to mean that he's worried that they can't stay friends if he's with Maya, but he quickly makes his intentions clear. He tells Clary that he's in love with her and knows that she might not feel the same, but he had nothing to worry about, and it turns out that she actually is happy about this, and she actually is feeling the same because she kisses him, and they're both clearly pleased afterwards, so this was definitely surprising to see. I was expecting this to be in the mid-season finale. I definitely knew these two were going to get together. It does feel a bit rushed, but I was definitely happy to see this take place. I thought this was a very well done real overall. I feel like it's been a long time coming for Simon. Since episode 1, we've kind of followed him trying to get the girl, and I was very happy to see that take place. The big question now is where we really go after that, but I was very happy to see that happen. I think these two have very good chemistry, and I think it was a long time coming. It was shocking, but it was definitely earned. I think definitely we've gone in enough places with Simon where it was okay for him to be with Claire, and definitely interested in seeing where this relationship goes throughout the rest of the show, because now it's really a question of where is this going to go after this. So there's a scene of a brief talk between Jace and Magnus in which they both make it clear they won't let anyone hurt Alec, but the thing to pay attention to is really the number of cats that swarm Magnus's deck while they're talking. One of them becomes a little bit important later on, but it's just the big party at their place, which Alec managed to persuade his mother to come to after all. But just because she agrees to it doesn't mean she has to be pleasant the whole time, which she definitely is not. She definitely makes as much, she definitely tries to cause as much trouble as possible, because we know that, again, Marayse is not really happy about this, and basically, when Marayse and Max arrive for the big event that night, Marayse is already being prickly, getting upset with Alec for telling Magnus about their family history after Magnus explains that the Spanish theme of the event is in honor of the place where she and Robert became engaged, Barcelona, but she does bring him a bottle of something, so at least she's kind of making an effort, but she's kind of not. She's still very rude about it. She's still not really into this at all, but it turns out she's not the only one to bring drama to the event. Simon and Clary actually show up hand in hand. Jace notices this while talking to Maya, who's bartending, and he approaches them, and after Simon goes to get a drink, Jace wishes Clary well in the relationship, just in time for Clary to see Maya and Simon go off together, and they actually kiss in this episode, which is very strange. I don't know why this turned out the way it did, but she's very surprised that he kissed Maya, because he literally just confessed his love to her, so why is he going with Maya? And she confronts Simon. He tries to say that Maya kissed him. He didn't know what to do, but eventually turns to the excuse that Clary will never understand what he's going through the way that Maya does, and she tries to run off, but Magnus stops her, convincing her to stick around and be there for her friends for their brother's big night, and he convinced her to stay, but before long, she catches Simon and Maya together again, but when Magnus looks, Simon is standing alone, so obviously, something really strange is going on. They don't really know what this is about, but this happens after Magnus gives Max a present on the dock, and with his mother and brother watching, Max abruptly asks about Magnus's warlock mark, and Magnus shows him his strange cat-like eyes. Max continues about asking inappropriate questions just in time for Jace to show up and tell him off, and Max then tells Jace that he isn't his brother anyway. His mom said so, and Magnus leaves them to let them all argue, which I really did love the way this was done, that he got genuinely upset that he wasn't their brother, because no, Jace isn't necessarily their brother. He was adopted, and you can tell they're all getting upset over these little trivial matters, but you know that this isn't intentional. Like, they're not genuinely that upset. Something is really messing with their mind and making them this way. And Alex tells Marayse to make things right with Jace, who has left the scene. But when she approaches him in his room, instead of apologizing, Marayse tries to attack him, like straight up tries to kill him, and he knocks her out somehow. Magnus eventually spots her on the floor from the other room, and Izzy's there with Jace, having just left Rafael, who's told her to get clean and appreciate her family more, and they're scrambling to figure out what to do. So Magnus tells Clary that she's hallucinating, then rushes into the room where Jace, Izzy, and Marayse are, and realizes that they are in fact too. So she knows that something's going on here. She knows that there's a lot of hallucinations going on, and those hallucinations get a lot worse as the episode goes on. So after Magnus wakes Marayse tells Jace that she came to apologize to him, but all he hears is that she wants to try to hurt him. He's not hearing what she's actually saying. All he's hearing is she wants to hurt him. So again, you know something's going on here. Magnus realizes someone is playing with their minds. Before he can clear things up there, they hear Clary yelling Alec's name in the other room, and we get this incredible scene where Clary's pleading with Alec to get down from a ledge, and Alec is on the ledge, because what he hears, she's telling him to get down, he hears her blaming him for her mother's death and wants him to jump, and for him causing a lot of the shit that she's gone through, which, yeah, Alec has been held accountable for, but he did apologize, and it seemed like things were okay between them, and he finally goes to fall backwards, but luckily Magnus uses magic to save and sedate him, putting him down gently and safely on the deck, and it's a very powerful scene. I was not at all expecting that to go down with, I was not expecting that to go down with Alec the way it did, but that was incredibly well done. I think the actor who played Alec just knocked it out of the park in that scene. I love the way that was done, and eventually, it's Jace, Clary, Simon, Marayse, Alec, Magnus, and Izzy all out on the dock, and everyone except the Warlock is fighting. He tells them to stay there, runs to retrieve his spellbook, then breaks the spell on them all, and everyone in the group starts to apologize to each other, realizing the horrible things they said, and just as Magnus explains that someone was messing with them, playing on their insecurities, his spellbook disappears, so this is going to get a lot worse. Magnus puts up wards on the building, questions everyone that gets to the party, and isn't able to find a Warlock hiding in the mist, because he knows that there's definitely, some sort of rat there that stole his book, but he then remembers that much of his books is in a old French dialect, one that Iris would know, so he realizes that she was hiding as one of the cats on the deck, and the gang search the apartment until they find her hiding in a bedroom, and you knew that Iris was going to come back into play at some point. The second that we saw her in that one episode, I knew that she was going to come back, and that's absolutely the case here. She's the cause for a lot of this, and basically, they fight briefly. Iris has the other one frozen in another room, so that when Magnus manages to paralyze her, there's no one else there. When he gets to her to admit that she sent the spells and counter spells to Valentine, with the book he can undo all of Magnus' spells, which could be a very bad thing, obviously, because Magnus is, there's been a lot of them, and there's a lot of things that Magnus doesn't want to undo. So she explains about Madzie, tells her to release the others, whom she has frozen in the other room. Iris has just enough time to remind Clary about her blood oath, and to demand that she repay her by finding Madzie, and before Magnus sends her to the Clave. So Clary and Jace tell the others, except Marayse, who doesn't seem to be there anymore, about their encounter with Ithureil. They feel it's finally the time to do that, and I was happy they did this. I liked that we didn't have to wait so many episodes. They realized that, everyone's personal thoughts are coming out. They might as well just say they had an encounter with Ithureil and her new ability to create new runes. So Magnus somehow makes a connection between that and Shadowhunters from way back when, who were directly created with the blood of an angel. We know that Clary is one of those Shadowhunters. So basically, Raziel, he thinks this could all mean that Clary herself has pure angel blood with her and could activate the Soul Sword, because Clary, we know, has this in her. She's pure blood, and she would be the one to access the Soul Sword and get away from Valentine, which would in turn really help them. So they all depart. Clary and Simon make up on their walk that night, with Simon telling her that no matter what happens, he wants to spend every minute with her, and they kiss, and everything seems great with them, but we'll see how long that really lasts. I mean, right now, things seem okay, but I don't really know. We'll have to see the way that goes down. Then we get to Max's rune ceremony with Alec, Izzy, Jace, Marayse, and for some reason, Clary in attendance. He gets his first rune. It's a very proud moment for the family, and Alec and Clary then have a heart-to-heart afterwards, in which she reassures him that she doesn't blame for what happened to her mother, and I like that they brought that up, because ever since, Jocelyn died, it's always felt like an afterthought to me. Like, I feel like the first few episodes, they definitely did a good job with that, but they haven't really brought it up since episode 5, and, obviously, Clary, does, forgive Alec, and he then goes over to talk to his mom with Jace. The two of them having just made up as well, and Alec brings up the fact that Max did say their parents have been fighting, and she basically tells him that Robert has actually been cheating on her. So it hasn't been because of Alec and Magnus, it's because he himself has clearly been having an affair. So we don't know what that's all about and who Robert's been cheating with. I'm sure we'll get into that at some point. But she tells him not to tell Izzy, who worships her father, and they comfort her while she cries, and Alec offers for her and Max to come stay with them, but she declines the offer, still sworn to her duties after all this time. There's too much at stake, so for now, her plea is in Idris. She can't possibly go away from Idris. She needs to stay there. And then we get to the ending, which I loved the end of this episode. One of the best endings we've had so far, without a doubt, because Iris is watching granddaughter Madzie in a park early on in the episode. We see Valentine suddenly shows up, and he tells her that he heard that she met his daughter, Clary, and Iris says she didn't know about the connection, and a bunch of his men suddenly surround Madzie with weapons, and Iris begs Valentine not to hurt the girl, and she says she'll do anything he's sure to take her up on that, and then the next time we see Valentine, he brings Madzie an ice cream while she sits on the swing alone. It's the end of the episode, and he tells her that she and Clarissa are going to get along just fine, and that is the way this episode ends, so you know that Valentine obviously is plotting something with Madzie, but let's just get this episode and see where we're going from here. So overall, guys, a really crazy episode overall. There was a lot of stuff at stake in this episode, and what I really loved about this episode, not just, the great character stuff we had here, was really the guilt that everyone had. All the worst things that they have against these characters, all the bad animosity, all the bad stuff they've been through, did in fact come out in this episode. And yes, while it was, brief, it was still very effective. Hearing Alec, blame himself, hearing Clary blame Alec for the death of Jocelyn, that really did get to him. And Matthew Daddario did such a great job selling the scene there. Or Jace getting upset that he's not biologically related to Alec and Izzy. He's not technically their brother, even though they kind of just took him in. That's something else to get really upset about. Or what was going on with Clary and Simon. I thought just all that was extremely well done. They did a really great job with all of these, relationships going on here, and all the kind of, regrets and animosity they had for each other. So I thought that was extremely well done here. But let's talk about what's going on with Madzie, because I don't know what exactly is going on here. I knew that Madzie would come back into the story, because we know that Madzie, she doesn't talk a lot, but she does happen to be very powerful. Now, what Valentine wants out of her, I don't really know. I don't know what he's really going to do to her. I don't know what his real whole idea is here, but he clearly does have some sort of plan for Madzie, and I don't know what it's really all about. I don't think it's a good plan at all. I think definitely it's something that could end up really bad, but I definitely am interested in seeing what's going to happen here with Valentine. What he's going to do with Madzie is beyond me. I really don't know where that's going to go, but I think that definitely is going to be interesting to see where this whole thing between Valentine and Madzie really end up going. He clearly does need her for something, but what it is, we don't really know. As far as Clary, we now know that Clary, supposedly is pure-blooded. Like, she is has the blood of an angel. Like, she's the only one who can save the soul sword, and that's how she'll get them out of the situation, which it does definitely make sense, obviously, because, the Clary did have this encounter with the angel. We now know why, but it doesn't make sense why Jace had the encounter, because we know that Jace is definitely not pure-blooded. He has demon blood in him, or at least that's what Valentine has told him, and Jocelyn said the same thing, so I'm willing to bet that's the truth, unless there's some big conspiracy that Valentine hasn't told him. I don't know if that's true. But as far as I know, Jace does not have, angel blood in him. So that really does not make sense to me. I don't know really where they're going with that. I like that Clary's pure-blooded. I think it gives her another purpose on the show that I like, but I just don't really know where they're going with Jace. That doesn't really make much sense to me. Clary and Simon, wow, that was unexpected. I mean, I expect these two to get together, definitely, but like I said, not this early. I was expecting, maybe episode 11, episode 12, not episode 8, not this early in the season, and I don't know if it's really the best thing for the show. I think it honestly might hurt the show a bit, but we'll have to see where that ends up going. I think overall that's going to be very interesting to see the way that's handled. I like seeing Simon and Clary together, don't get me wrong. I think these two have great chemistry, but was now really the time to get these two together? I'm really not sure. I don't really know where they're going with this. I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there, especially because we already saw them go through a lot of problems. When they actually go through legit problems, I don't know what's going to happen there. I think Clary thinks this is a good idea, but I don't really know if this is the best thing for them to do. We'll have to see where that goes. I think that whole situation is, there's a lot of mixed reactions, I think, about that situation. And a lot of people have mixed reactions, and I definitely do, so we'll have to see where that ends up going, because that's going to be very interesting. Izzy is officially addicted to Yin Fen. There's no doubt about it. She is very addicted, and now she's getting Rafael addicted. And I don't know what sort of impact that's going to have on Rafael, but Rafael clearly, he is just as addicted as Izzy. Definitely it seems like this is something that gives you this sensation, and you crave more and more of it. It basically is like a drug for her, and we didn't see ulterior in this episode, but we know that he definitely does have ulterior motives with this. Like, he's trying to make Izzy as obedient to him as possible, and I don't really know that's going to work here. I don't really know how Izzy getting addicted is really going to help him, but we'll have to see what ends up happening there. I think that's going to be interesting to see how that all turns out. I thought... And then this whole revelation with Robert. This is interesting as well. We now know that Robert actually possibly left Marayse, and that he wants nothing to do with Marayse, and has nothing to do with Alec and Magnus, which I was happy about. I like that it didn't have to do with those two, that it was just that Robert and Marayse had some sort of fault, and they were arguing a lot. But where that's going to go, if we're going to see that take form, I don't know what's going to happen there. Who has he been cheating on her with? Why is he having an affair? What's going on there? I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but we'll have to see where that goes. And then the only other thing to really talk about is what's going on with Luke, because Luke still does have to find Cleophus, and we know that, obviously, he has to track her down, so I don't know where that's going to go. I think that whole storyline is going to be very interesting. But overall, guys, I really did enjoy this episode overall. I thought this was just a really nice way to, like I said, deal with a lot of the damage that these characters have for each other. Finally get to see it all play out. Even if it wasn't real, I thought it was very well done overall. I thought all the actors did a very good job with finally being able to confess everything that they wanted to, and, Clary and Jace admitting about the Ithureil and things like that. I think that whole storyline is very interesting. Overall, guys, this is definitely one of the best episodes of the season, in my opinion. I definitely really did love this episode. I think it is definitely out there with some of the best ones, and I definitely give Shadowhunters Season 2, Episode 8, Love is a Devil, a 4.5 out of 5, or an A-. So far, guys, this episode of Shadowhunters. Let me know if you guys saw this episode overall, loved your thoughts. And like I said, my only complaint with this episode is what really happened with Jace. I don't really understand how Jace is, pure-blooded. We know, obviously, he's not, so I don't know where that's really going to go. And they still don't really have much of a purpose for him beyond him just kind of being there for Clary. Other than that, they don't really have a purpose for him. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.